Okay.
Bobby, do you mind reading the legal opening?
Absolutely. If there is no objection from the members and subject to Executive Order number 78, the law enforcement and public safety members have determined that it is necessary that this meeting be held electronically to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the public due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Are there any objections to this finding by the board? Let the minutes reflect the board has made the determination to conduct this meeting electronically. I do want to remind you that prior to making a comment or asking a question, please identify yourself, and this includes comments from staff and other non-board members. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Bobby. To take roll. All right, President Sean Aiello, Jennifer Mason, Steve Smith, and Beth Lauders. First before the commission is approval of the minutes from 3/31/21. Beth Lauders to motions, Steve Smith the second. Move to a vote. Minutes are approved. Unanimous. All right. First up is a resolution accepting the donation of computer packages from the Tennessee Administrative Office of the Courts. Is there a motion? Beth Lauders the motion, Steve Smith the second. Any explanation or discussion on this resolution?
This is Danny Martin. I am here on behalf of Juvenile Services. Accept the in the state of Tennessee would be receiving this IT addition to our court. It's for each of the judges, as I understand it, and the package includes laptops, stations, keyboards, mouses, and monitors. And this is a one-time contribution from the Administrative Office of the Courts, and I believe that it is COVID related.
Sounds great to me. Any other questions? Seeing none, let's move to a vote. Vote passes 5-0 with Commissioner Williams joining us. Next up is the resolution accepting a donation from the DUI Court Foundation of Williamson County, Inc., and appropriating and amending the 2020-2021 Williamson County General Sessions Court budget by $25,000, revenues to come from donation. Beth Lauders to motion. Is there a second? Matt Williams the second. Any explanation or discussion?
Mr. Chairman, this is Bobby Cook. This is just funds that their county's receiving from the DUI Court Foundation. The county's going to run a resolution through to accept the funds, and that's all this is.
All right. Seeing no other questions, let's move to a vote. Vote passes 5-0. Next up, resolution appropriating and amending the 2020-2021 Sheriff's Office budget by $1,425. Is that correct, or is that a larger number? $1,425 revenues to come from Central Offender Registry Reserve. Is there a motion? Matt Williams to motion, Jennifer Mason to second. Any explanation or discussion?
Commissioner, this is Jennifer Davis with the Sheriff's Office. I wasn't sure if Sheriff Rhodes was available, but this is a resolution that is funding a computer for our sex offender registry personnel at the Sheriff's Office, and the funds are available.
Okay. Any other questions for Ms. Davis? Seeing none, let's move to a vote. Vote passes 5-0. Next, resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to grant a right-of-way easement to Middle Tennessee Electric Membership Corporation for property located on Wilkins Branch Road. Steve Smith, the motion. And Jennifer Mason, the second. Any explanation or discussion?
Mr. Chairman, Bill Jorgensen, I'm online here.
Thank you, Bill. Would you care to shed some light on this?
Be glad to. Working with our partners at the Parks and Rec Department, and they put in a portable shelter at the facility, and we need to run electricity to it. So we have purchased multiple side-by-sides, which are actually Kawasaki mules, and they've been loaded on the back of those with the ability to transport patients. And we're strategically placing those around the county, and there'll be another resolution coming up later in the meeting speaking to those also, with working with our partners at the City of Brentwood. But this is for specifically for running electricity to the shelter, so we can place that vehicle in there.
Great. Any questions for Bill? Seeing none, let's proceed to a vote. Vote passes 5-0. Next up, resolution withdrawing recognition of the Melonsville Volunteer Fire Department as the organization to provide fire protection and prevention services for the geographic area covered by Station 16. Steve Smith, the motion. Matt Williams, the second. Any other explanation or discussion on this resolution?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I can speak to that also.
Great, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The town of Melonsville is starting a municipal fire department, and which will have volunteers and paid staff, and they've already hired a fire chief and other administrative staff to run that department. They will start providing fire protection on July 1st, and there'll be other resolutions in tonight's meeting pertaining to that. But one of the things that the county needs to do is unrecognize the volunteer fire department that we're that the county currently gives them the authority or the response area. And then once that takes effect after midnight, June 30th, then the town of Melonsville, and they're doing what they need to do legally to become a fire department. But all the county needs to do is unrecognize the volunteer department, the nonprofit.
Okay. Any questions for Bill on this issue? Beth Walters? Is anyone else having trouble hearing Commissioner Lathers?
Yes, I could not hear.
Okay. Well, Commissioner Lathers, there are additional resolutions that I believe Bill will be addressing. If you could respond in the chat, Commissioner Williams, would you like to speak?
Yeah, Bill, just curious if we're formally handing the fire responsibilities over to the city of Melonsville on July 1st, is there a reason we have to do this, now opposed to a little bit closer to that time frame?
You could, well, in the resolution, it states that it takes effect on June 30th at midnight.
Got it.
I mean, you could wait another month, but it would need to be done in definitely in June.
Understood. Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Lathers, would you like to try to ask your question again? All right. Seeing no response, let's proceed to a vote. And if there's another question from Commissioner Lathers, we'll present that later. All right, vote passes 5-0. Next resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to enter into a lease agreement with the Town of Melonsville. Steve Smith, the motion, Matt Williams, the second. Bill, is this another one that you would like to explain?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
All right, please proceed.
Thank you. With the nonprofit, they'll be moving out of the station, and the lease agreement, well, then we need a new lease agreement with the Town of Melonsville. The town does not have a station to use at this point in time. So we will enter into or requesting to enter into a lease agreement with the town. Part of that will, and we're going through that right now. Bobby did come up with an agreement. The town's reviewing it now, and it'll be very minimal amount of money. And then they need to probably pick up utilities, and then return. The recommendation is for them to provide fire protection out into the county.
All right, any additional questions for Bill? Commissioner Lathers?
I'm going to try this again. Can you hear me?
Hear you now.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate your patience. Bill, I think I probably know the answer to this, but could you please share that what the involvement has been from the volunteer organization being at the table with the Town of Melonsville with this process, so we can understand that fully?
Well, the county, I probably can't speak to that because the county is not involved with those conversations that are going on currently between the Town of Melonsville and the nonprofit.
Okay. So that's really between the municipality and the volunteer organization in this transition. Okay, thank you so much. And I apologize,
no,
but I'm going to keep my mic on for the meeting because it will not go back and forth. Thank you.
and we've been working very closely with the town, and they know if they need us to plug in somewhere to assist in that transition, that we'll plug in where we can.
Okay, thank you so much.
Commissioner Williams?
Yeah, Bill, can you just give a little detail to the transition? So it sounds like they're going to lease our firehouse in the meantime. What about long term? Are they building a new one somewhere else, and we'll continue to operate out of our facility? What's that transition, and what does long term look like?
Yeah, long term, there's lots of options, Commissioner, and that's a great question. I don't know if they're all figured out yet, but I have heard from the town. Really, it's probably not long term, probably in the next 3 years that they would be looking at building another facility. It may be on the north end of Melonsville. I'm not sure. I don't think they know yet. And then maybe they keep one engine in this facility. So there's lots of options available, and I'm sure those will be figured out as time goes by. But we also want, with the current facility, is make sure that we leave space for EMS.
Mm-hmm.
So there is not an EMS unit in the northeast side of the county. In the actual Melonsville area, they're serviced out of the Brentwood station and the Triune station primarily. And we already know in the future that a 24-hour EMS unit is going to be needed in that area. And so we want to make sure we keep space in the current facility for EMS, and the town is aware of that.
So just a follow up. So for fire in the unincorporated county in that area, who's providing, fire service?
Today, it is the Melonsville Volunteer Fire Department, the nonprofit. Starting July 1st, the intent is, and there's a resolution coming up for a interlocal. The intent would be that the town of Melonsville provides fire protection out into the unincorporated areas of the county.
Okay. Basically the same footprint that they service today, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right, any other questions from commissioners? Commissioner Walters?
Bill, can I ask as a follow-up, is it true that the EMS station is in our 5-year capital improvements plan? Could you just kind of remind me the projected time frame of that?
Yes, Commissioner. I don't have the 5-year CIP right in front of me, but I believe it was it may be in 24, but there's a FY 24, but there's a construction, maybe it's 23. There's construction money in there for that.
Okay.
And with this transition, we probably don't need to construct a building. That's why I was saying it's important that we leave space in that facility, and we know that up front for 2 bedrooms and whatever, and living area and bay space for EMS going forward.
Thank you very much.
All right, seeing no other questions, we'll proceed to a vote. Resolution passes 5-0. Next resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to enter into an interlocal agreement with the Town of Melonsville for the provision of fire and emergency services. Beth Walters to motion, Matt Williams to second. Any further explanation, Bill?
Mr. Chairman, I don't think there is. I think I covered it, but this resolution will allow for the mayor to sign the interlocal.
Perfect. Any follow-up questions from commissioners? Seeing none, we'll proceed to a vote. Vote passes 5-0. Next resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to enter into a grant agreement with the state of Tennessee for pass-through federal funding to subsidize emergency management for the fiscal year of 2021-2022. Matt Williams to motion. And Beth Walters to second. Any explanation or discussion on this resolution?
I think Director Horton's on the line and can answer the next 2 resolutions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is an annual grant that's received through the Emergency Management Program through the Federal Emergency Management Agency to help subsidize salaries for our program. There is a match required of this, which is also met through the other salaries that we pay for our individuals.
All right. Any questions for Mr. Horton? Seeing none, we'll proceed to a vote. Vote passes 5-0. And thank you, Alan, for pointing out that the EMS station construction is currently for fiscal year 23 of the CIP. Final resolution for tonight, resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to enter into a limited license agreement with the City of Brentwood for use of Kawasaki Mules Pro DX EPS. Steve Smith to motion, Jennifer Mason to second. And I believe that these were the vehicles you were talking about in the earlier resolution, but would you like to explain any further on these?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. As Director Jorgensen indicated, we've purchased several of these Kawasaki mules with a specific intent of spreading them throughout the county in very strategic locations. This particular one will be going to the City of Brentwood, whereby not only will they use it within the city limits of Brentwood, but they will and have agreed to not only maintain it, but to respond it outside of the city limits of Brentwood as the need arises. And so part of what their responsibility will be is to take this vehicle to football games that are occurring at high schools within the city of Brentwood, specifically for the provision of EMS and a sports medic to be able to man that football game without having to commit an ambulance to it, which leaves our ambulances available to respond to other emergencies across Williamson County. You will see more resolutions in the near future for placement of some of these vehicles in other locations as well. But this particular one is with the city of Brentwood.
Commissioner Smith?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director Horton, explain a little bit further the functionality of these mules. Obviously, I don't suppose they could provide transport from a game, for example, to an ER that would require an ambulance. So what exactly is the functionality?
Good question, Commissioner. So these do have a place to transport a patient, but you're right, they don't transport off the premises. It's a means of getting them to a physical location where an ambulance can more readily receive them. Sometimes it doesn't require a patient to be transported to the hospital. There's other times where patients are injured on trailways and in parks throughout Williamson County, specifically our mountain bike park that is in the southern portion of our county. And these vehicles allow us to be able to quickly access patients and remove them to a place where an ambulance can actually physically load the patient and transport them to the hospital. One of these vehicles, while all of them, we have 7 currently, 6 of them are outfitted to transport patients. One of them actually has a skid unit that is for brush firefighting to allow us to get into areas where our normal brush trucks can't reach. And we will continue to add some of these to our system in the future.
Very good. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Walters?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I think that maybe, Todd, you answered this. I really appreciate the Melonsville area is going to be receiving one of these. Is this correct? That would be a separate resolution because on their trail system, that is a concern. Trails are terrific, but then we have to have the apparatus to get somebody transported in safely to our wonderful hospital. So will there be a separate resolution for Melonsville, and that will be determined whether it goes to the town of Melonsville? I guess that would go to the town of Melonsville, whether it's through the fire department or PD or where it's housed. Would that be crafted in that resolution?
Yes, ma'am. There's certainly an intent to put one in Melonsville, and the final decision will be exactly what you said. Where it's housed will determine whether this is an interlocal that's required with Melonsville or whether it's something that we're able to place in our own building out there. Either way, the town of Melonsville Fire Department will use the vehicle, again, for emergency response, not only within the corporate limits of the town, but also in the unincorporated area as well. And that will come up in a future resolution.
Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Williams?
Yeah, I'm just curious, where are the first 6 of them going to?
So I don't have the map right in front of me. I apologize for that. I could certainly share that with the group, but we have one going to the mountain bike park as soon as this electricity is finished to the building there. One going to Brentwood, one will be going to Melonsville, and then the remainder of them right now are going to other volunteer fire stations throughout our community and or at a specific school location that is more equipped to handle these vehicles than what we can presently fit in an existing fire station because we may be full of equipment already. And we also have the option of using some of our parks facilities. Our Parks Department also has a few of a different style ATV within their own purview that they use for their normal businesses. And we are working closely with Gordon to ensure that we can use any of these vehicles at any time to be able to provide emergency services.
Yeah, thank you. I guess to be more specific, will one of those be going to either Pinewood Road or Sneed Road?
Yeah, the one specifically for Pinewood Road will be going to the mountain bike park in that area because the station at Pinewood and The station currently at Pinewood is not able to hold the vehicle because there's too much equipment in the station already. But it will be assigned to the mountain bike park, and the volunteer fire department will have full access to get it and respond it as needed.
Thank you, Todd.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Seeing none, let's proceed to a vote. Vote passes 5-0. I believe that concludes our business. If there is no other business to bring before this committee. Seeing none, thank you all for being here, for speaking, and I say we're adjourned.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you so much for everybody online.